Alright, and now we are back to the life and suffering of Sir Brante as we continue into the second half of our adolescence. In the previous one, we got killed again, but it was worth it. It was for a noble cause. We saved a young lady. And in our school years, we fought a noble fight and took down a bully while saving our friend. What will the later half of our adolescence have? Let's find out. The Silver Tree. The theology teachers tell you more about Anzoit. It's more than just a provincial capital. It is also a sacred place blessed by the gods. It is where the twin gods' first disciples spilled their blood, and from that blood grew the sacred silver tree. Its enormous foliage hangs over the city. You see its branches in the sky every day, but you have never approached the trunk of the tree yourself. Today, you'll be taking your first trip to the Silver Tree. Your class is visiting a service in the great temple by the tree's very roots. Thanks to your theology teacher, you and the other students will witness this landmark of the twins' advent up close. Everyone is excited. Soon you and the other boys enter the slums surrounding the church district of Anzoit. The roots are pulsating under your feet. They spread underground all throughout the area. Pathetic, cramped hovels and filthy streets surround the trunk of the tree. They are home to paupers, day laborers, and preachers. The people of the district bow humbly to you and point you towards the temple. They seem at peace despite the abject poverty in which they live. All those who live directly beneath the tree are filled with a divine grace, your teacher says. People come here to make peace with the world and their fate in it. Your class is unusually quiet. Everyone is listening to the rustling of the leaves and the underground beating of the roots. The sky above you is obscured by the tree's canopy. You find the temple of the twin gods right next to the tremendous trunk of the tree. It almost seems a part of it. There's a crowd there, pilgrims dressed in traveling clothes, paupers and beggars, common people of the city, and the occasional well-dressed noble. There are arguments among some people who gathered in separate small groups. Many people are wandering around, staring upwards at the tree's branches. The tree impresses you with its might and the calm emanating from it. You are filled with a desire to sit down and think of the world, to learn something about yourself, to touch the silver white bark and hearken to the whispering leaves. You're distracted enough to fall back from the rest of your classmates. You notice a small path. It should take you right next to the trunk. A tall, red-haired woman walks out from the crowd of pilgrims. She's wearing a worn white robe. She is no longer young, but her face is youthful and covered with freckles. Her hands clutch a book. You've seen this lady pilgrim before, yet she looks at you almost as if she has recognized a lifelong friend. She beckons to you and says her name, Mathilde, a preacher from Mastinia. What she says next shakes you to your very core. It is commendable to see a young man so keen to learn the teachings of the twins, she says. Yet, you will never follow the light of the truth within the walls of the temple. Inside, you will only find lies about the lots. The erring words of prophet Isatis, sanctified by the passage of centuries. Yet, anyone who sets out to read the accounts of the twins' own lives knows that they never so much as mentioned the lots. The red-haired preacher's words frighten you. They clash with everything you have ever heard from Mother, everything you have been taught at school. The lots are a lie? You freeze in fear. Should you argue with Matilde? Or ask for more information? Or should you treat her as a madwoman and catch up with your classmates? You suddenly feel a small hand, warm grasp. You suddenly feel a small, warm hand grasp your own. You see a girl right next to you. She's just a little older than you, wearing a black dress, threadbare, yet almost spotless. Her hair is covered with a handkerchief, with only a single golden lock showing. Her brown eyes are burning with rage, her hand pulling you away from the red-haired preacher. You stare in confusion at the strange young girl, your cheeks flushed by the sudden touch. There is just a bit of color on her cheeks too, but then she starts speaking to you quietly. Don't listen to her, she's dangerous. Come on to the temple with me. Only there will you see the truth. You stand there, surrounded by the crowd of praying pilgrims, and the sound of shuffling feet torn between two people you have never seen before, and each of them expects you to follow her. But all the while you hear the whispering of the wind in the tree branches. The branches reach out for you, almost as if the tree wishes to speak to you itself. Can you hear its voice? Well, I can't hear the tree. I would lose absolutely all my willpower to follow the girl into the temple. And I suppose that signifies me resigning myself to the ways of the world. But let's change the laws. You shrug, smile sheepishly at the girl, and walk towards the red-haired creature. This Matilde Vastania. She speaks too strangely to be ignored. You feel she will be leaving soon anyway. And the temple? Surely the temple is not going anywhere. The lady preacher hands her book to you. There are words on the cover. The Lives of the Twins. The book is so heavy you almost drop it. The crowd around you barely allows for a proper reading. The best you can do is flip through the pages and hope to glimpse a message or two from it. Matilda's hushed voice commented on each new page. This book was written by the disciples of the twins. When the twin gods ascended and brought faith into the world, they walked the lands with them. It is filled with many stories of wonders and battles, as well as records of the twins' own sermons and dialogues. They discuss many things that now guide the living. The fate that awaits us on the shining pillar, the eternal life after true death, the profane evil of magic. Yet Matilda points out something that you cannot help but notice yourself. There is not one mention of lots in this book. How can this be? It is what it is. The twins never spoke of them. They never left any teachings behind, nothing but their deeds and their own lives in the world. You frown. Then how can we know about the lots now? They exist, think to Isatis. Isatis, favored by the gods, the elder's favorite disciple, walked the lands by his side, and through all his hardships until his fatal end in Eternia. They came to be, he explained, when people came to Isatis and asked them how they should live. Yet Isatis was a man, and his teachings of the lots were not divine revelations, but speculations of his own devising. This feels much tougher than learning prayers. So if the teachings of the lots came not from the gods, but rather from their student, what does that mean for you? What does it mean for the people? A new faith, the red-haired creature says with a smile. You think about her words for a long time as the silver tree whispers above your head. The very tree grows from the blood of the people who walk the land with the younger and the elder. You keep on thinking about it, even as you make your way home and into bed. Your conclusions bring you no comfort. If that strange lady preacher was right, then you're supposed to be free to interpret the twins' words yourself, which means that you, and only you, should be responsible for your life and fate in the hereafter. But who can tell for sure? You cannot fall asleep that night. So they were lying to you all this time. In the morning, you still mutter off a prayer of the words of your lot. To work, endure, and suffer. But is it worth it if the lots don't really exist? Or is it the will of the twins after all? Did they actually speak their will through Isitis? And those who defy that will are defying the true order of the world? These questions will remain in your mind for a long time. Shadow of the past. Another school day has ended. You're making your way home, still mulling over the things you've learned from your teachers. The founding of the empire, the eternal and unshakable rule of a single dynasty, the three estates, each with its own rights. What an odd sort of order this world has, and yet still mysterious. At least it sounded that way when your teachers talk about it. Mother is waiting for you on the porch. She smiles gently when she sees you, and yet her expression still shows great concern. Father left on a trip for several distant Margaret towns a few days ago. Since then, Mother has been trying to tell you something, but she seems uncertain. Son, could you put your things away and come pray with me? You join Mother in prayer to the twins. She prays with fervent sincerity, her head bowed low, reciting the words of obedience to them and their greater design in a barely audible whisper. You repeat after her just as she taught you ever since you were a little boy. When the prayer ends, Mother sighs and turns to you. Horsten, my son, you're 13 now. You'll be grown soon. It's time you learned the certain things that are important to our family, difficult things. It's about your father and me and our marriage. You gaze curiously into Mother's eyes. I'm sure you've wondered about this before. Your father is a nobleman of the mantle. How could he marry a commoner with another man's child? But you see, Horsten, your father, when his first wife, Amelia Elborn, died, it was a painful blow to him. He lost the will to live, lost all purpose. He felt like his own destiny had been cut short that day as well. And then he met me. You know the troubles I had in the past. I went to the prefecture as a petitioner to ask them for help, protection, and justice. When I was a young girl, I worked at a small shop that sold crockery and dishes. A nobleman took a liking to me. May his name be forever forgotten. The twins know I was humble and honored his lot to rule, but he took me by force. Mother fell silent, summoning the courage to continue. Gloria is that nobleman's daughter, but he was outraged. How could I have the gall to burden him with a low-born progeny? He turned me out on the streets with that little baby girl in my arms. Mother's voice is shaking now. You take her hand tenderly. I had no home, no honor, nowhere to go, no one to help me. When I went to the prefecture, I didn't really think the judges there would help me find justice against my former master. But when Sir Robert heard my plea, his eyes met mine, and I believe that at that very moment, the twins themselves granted him the gift of their love. Your father told me that there was nothing he could do to make that distastable nobleman marry me. But he would never abandon me and baby Gloria, and if I agreed, he would take me into his own home. Tears are running down your mother's cheeks. And I knew it, my son. I knew how much his honor and reputation would suffer. But caring for me brought him back to life. It's like he experienced another sacrament. He rediscovered his noble purpose, his lot to rule and protect and care for others. But his decision to marry me, he's still paying for it today. Your father had the courage to defy your grandfather, the founder of his bloodline. If you only knew how much he had to endure, my son. If only you knew the despicable rumors we heard about the Brants all over Anzoet. It was only thanks to the efforts of Sir Gregor that the Brant bloodline managed to hang on to what little remnants of its reputation. And now, the noble families have all but forgotten about that scandal. Thank the twins. Mother falls silent. She looks at you intently. Do you understand what she's telling you? My son, I'm not telling you this to share the pain of my past. I have no reason to complain. Even Sir Gregor has accepted me through gritted teeth. But you need to understand the heavy burden your family must bear, including our scandalous marriage and Gloria's foul origin. And Gloria, she can never be a Brant, even if the elder Brants agreed. The news would stir up the old scandal in the minds of high society, and if that were to happen, they would see even your birth as illegitimate. What I told you just now is something you have to know, son. You are about to enter adult life, by my lot. I must be humble. I cannot tell you how to treat your family, but may I ask you a question? Now that you know all of this, do you still see Gloria as your sister? I ain't gonna distance myself. Not even a question. Filled with determination, you assure Mother that Gloria is and will always be your sister. You want Gloria to be a Brant too. You want her to be part of your family. Who cares what the nobles of Anzoet say? Mother beams with quiet joy when she hears this. Oh, Horsten, if only you knew how happy that would make me, to have our family united at last. However, the joy on her face quickly gives way to concern. But I already owe good Sir Robert a debt I can never repay. He's given my daughter so much, a home, an education, his care, and advice. The Brant bloodline could suffer so much from Gloria's existence. We should all just learn to accept her status as it is. Just then you hear Gloria carefully knock on the door of Mother's chambers. Mother, Horsten, I couldn't find you. You happily greet your sister. Yes, she is your sister. Not an old secret. No old secret can ever change that. Mother gives you and Gloria a kiss on the forehead and returns to her prayers. You and your sister walk downstairs together. Mother is alone by her bedside now, thanking the twins with the quiet prayer for the Brant family they have given her. You hope they can hear it. You're 13 now. Another theology lesson. Today's sermon is about the priests and why the clergy is the only one of the 3 estates with the right to interpret the lots and guide the other 2 estates accordingly. Thomas is sitting next to you, huffing and puffing as he fervently writes down the teacher's every word. But you've heard this all from Mother many times before, so you take this moment to daydream a little. Father promised to take you to the chapel once your studies were complete. The capital. But the teacher suddenly casts a stern look around the lecture hall and raises his voice at one of your classmates. A boy by the name of Brian jumps out of his seat. The teacher asks him to repeat what he just said. Brian freezes and seems to shrink. He tries to muster a reply, but nothing comes out. The class becomes agitated. Someone is about to get punished. The teacher now looms over Brian. The boy's cheeks are flushed and his eyes are covered in tears. You all watch the teacher's iron-bound book as he raises it above. An iron-bound book? As he raises it sharply, about to strike. Brian shrieks and raises his hand in front of him. A sudden flash. The teacher screams and buries his face in his arms. His hair is ablaze, and his skin is covered in horrible burns. It's magic. Real magic. Just like the books about the Mogro Rebellion. The class freezes in shock. There's a dull thud as the iron book falls to the floor. Brian's hysterical laughter rends the silence. He stands up from his bench, fire in his eyes and sparks on his fingertips. There are screams now. Students run for the door. The teacher tries to extinguish his burning hair. Brian snaps his fingers, and the book of etiquette on the desk burns into pillars of flame. He laughs and raises his arms. The curtains catch fire. The screams grow louder as the fire howls. Brian's face is tense and violent, his mouth a spewing flame, and his whole body is shaking with laughter. He steps towards the door. You and Thomas glance at each other. He's gonna burn the whole school down. Your friend's determination makes you brave. You run behind Brian and knock him to his feet. You both tumble to the floor. Even through his clothes, his body shears your flesh. Brian screams, convulses, and grabs Thomas by the shoulder with his burning hands. Thomas howls but stays put, then knocks Brian senseless with several fierce blows to the head. There are servants fussing around the room now. They put out the fire and take away the teacher, his body covered in horrible burns. You and Thomas remain next to Brian, who is lying on the floor, silent. Soon 3 men in black coats enter the doors of the school, each bearing an Edric seal with silver, the Inquisition. You and Thomas are told to step away from the witch. They lock Brian's neck in a silver collar and take him away. One of the Inquisitors remained behind to tell the students what happened. That was magic, he explains, an ungodly power that exists, that twists the minds of men into savage instruments of murder. Only the sacred shackles of silver can hold it at bay. Only the power of the twins can save us all from the evil grasp. The next day, you are forbidden from ever mentioning Brian's name again. He is no more. A great day looms ahead. 100 years ago, a third Tempest was anointed to rule over the Empire. Blessed by the twins themselves, the Emperor reign continues into the 2nd century. Celebrations in honor of the Tempest dynasty are held throughout the city, and the school is closed for 2 weeks because of that. On one of these evenings, Father tells everybody that Grandfather is going to bring Stefan back home for the holiday. They say families should celebrate the day of anointment together. You could benefit from your elder brother's company. With his noble education, Stefan might be able to teach you how noblemen are supposed to act. Soon Stefan arrives. He now handles himself differently. When it comes to ordering servants around and ignoring Gloria, he is still grandfather's double, but he is more grown up now, and far less haughty to you. It is a dark winter evening. Damp, cold wind seeps through the city of the barren lands of Magra. You and Stefan are sitting in the library. He is telling you all about Eternia, the capital of the Empire. It is full of so many wonders. The Imperial Palace, the enormous Temple of the Twins, the Military Academy, the Imperial College. You have read so much about these places, yet he has seen them firsthand. Nathan enters the library. He looks concerned. I can't find Gloria. I looked everywhere. She's not in the attic, not in the sitting room, not in the kitchen. I heard she wanted to sneak off to the ruins of Charmelandia's palace. To the ruins of Charmelandia's palace. She couldn't be lost in there. She could be lost in there. You and Stefan exchanged looks. Charmelandia's, the rebellious duke. The ruins of his palace are a dangerous place. Some children claim its tainted magic still lingers there, which means you absolutely have to make your way there and back again to prove you are not afraid of the long-dead witch. Your brother tells you to wait. He leaves and soon returns with his sword in its sheath. Get ready, Horsten. We're going to rescue Gloria. She must have gone to the ruins in search of inspiration for another one of her little rhymes. Damn, I didn't expect you to jump onto this. The two of you instruct Nathan to tell your parents you have gone for a walk in the square. You and your elder brother head outside. You're confused by Stefan's action. He refuses to treat Gloria like a human being, so why is he still so determined to rescue her? Stefan notices your expression. Are you wondering why I care about Gloria all of a sudden? I can't act in any other way, can I? The law of order compels me to protect my family. Gloria will never be a Brante, but father still took her into our house. I must respect his seniority and defend Gloria like she is one of her own. You are a Brante too, noble or not, which means it's your duty to aid me. Well, at least you have some sort of honor. The ruins of Charmelandia's palace span an entire district. The palace is abandoned centuries ago, and its remnants are overgrown with thick underbrush. The ruined palace is empty, nothing but cold wind blowing over crumbling brickwork. Even the worst scum of the land steer clear of this place. You make your way through the ruins until you spot scattered sheets of paper covered in writing. Your sister's writing. You hear a loud laughter coming from behind a dilapidated stone wall. You pull yourself up to peer over it. Gloria is lying on the ground, face down, twitching and sobbing. A gaggle of drunk thugs surround her, cackling and singing their arms about. You hear their shouts. Look at the lass sitting there. You hear their shouts. Look at the lass sitting here rhyming words together. She thinks she's a noble. But don't worry, you low-born tart. We're gonna teach you your place. One of the louts spits at Gloria as she lies there. Get away from her this instant, you bastards, or I'll spill your guts. They respond with mocking laughter as Stefan draws his sword. The street thugs recoil in fear, but they soon notice that he's only one armed man against many. They start reaching up for sticks and stones. Stay by my side, don't let them flank me. Stefan's hand shakes, but he looks ready for battle. He's outnumbered. For a moment, you hesitate. Perhaps it might be better to run for a nearby district to call for the guards. The young thugs are already armed with makeshift weapons. They start approaching you and Stefan cautiously. So I'll lose all my willpower. To charge the attackers. Yeah, one guy ain't gonna do much. Oh, I feel like someone's gonna die here. No. Fighting in tandem is probably the best thing to do. Stefan's firm voice fills you with confidence. You follow your noble brother's orders. You take a moment to grab a stick, and then you are at Stefan's back, angrily swimming at the louts as they try to bring him down. One of the louts lunges at your brother with a stone, but you hit him with a stick and he falls straight down at Stefan's feet. His sword flashes and the blade sinks deep into the young man's stomach. He wheezes, blood starting to pour onto the ground. The thugs freeze. Stefan pulls the sword out, his face an inscrutable mask. He returns to his fighting stance. You're stunned to see Stefan take another man's life so easily and effortlessly, like picking his own teeth. The thugs look like they're about to flee. There is rage and confusion on their faces. They never expected a young nobleman to use that sword. Stefan just scoffs at them. Lauren boasts, low-born scum, that's all you are. This is the only language you understand. Good job, brother. Gloria, get up, we're going home. He turns to glance at your sister, giving the enraged thugs just enough time to rush you. You get separated from Stefan, you're back against the wall now. They hit you hard in the stomach, then the face, then the side of the head. Then your mind slips away. When the darkness disperses, you find yourself lying in bed, Stefan in the armchair next to you reading a book. He's alive. With left arm in a sling and the black eye, but still alive. Your head is spinning, and you feel nauseous. You try your best to sit up. Stefan looks at you from the book. Don't try to get up. You lost a lot of blood. I suppose that was a few thugs too many for a single warrior, even with good backup. I'm impressed we fought like an army. The noble orders, the common obeys, all according to our lots. We defended the family's honor together, you know. Brother, the nobleman's lot is also a great burden that few are able to bear. It takes courage, not to fight everything you see, but to do your duty. Each and every decision a nobleman makes becomes a part of his family's legacy, flowing in the blood tide forever. I think about it often. A noble mustn't act weak. A noble mustn't suffer like people of the low-born lots. A noble must rule over them wisely. A noble must ensure that they have work to do. It's not merely your own lot you have to look after. You have to ensure that 1,000 others can live by their lot as well. And there are so many more matters to take care of. Honor, dignity, tradition. It's tough. But it's what it takes to be a nobleman. Do you understand what I'm talking about? There is approval in your brother's eye for the first time in a long time. It was a pleasure to fight side by side, brother. Yes, but what of Gloria? How is she doing? Before long, the entire cities of how a gang of low-born thugs assaulted Stefan Brante. Grandfather ensures that the brash young men are found. Some of them are taken into custody as soon as lesser deaths release them. Grandfather seeks vengeance on those who hurt his favorite grandson. Prefect Elborn, a friend of your family, promises to personally oversee the trial and ensure that justice is served. Stefan and Grandfather decide to stay in Anzoit until the trial ends. Grandfather demands true death for every single assailant. You ask Father to explain something. How can a legal court sentence criminals to true death? How can worldly judgment overrule the twins' law? Your words are true, my son. Their law is second to none. Yet the twin gods also made the empire and all its ways. The court of law exists to execute the laws of heaven here in the world. Should the court of law sentence a person to death, the law high above will always enforce it. And so, every execution brings true death. The commoners who assaulted Stefan, a born nobleman, have committed a grave offense. There is no doubt about that, and yet, according to the Emperor's decree, even commoners have the right to defend themselves when they are about to face true death. This means that all of us will have to appear at the trial and testify before the court. Evening comes, and Gloria visits your room. She looks crestfallen. Her fingers keep reaching for her long hair. You put away your school books and ask her what's bothering. The trial is tomorrow. I thought I was going to appear there too, as an eyewitness. After all, this whole mess started because of me. But Sir Robert isn't even going to mention that I was there. Can you imagine that? He says it would ruin the case. Why am I always in the way? Nobody ever mentions me. Nobody has to listen to me. It's like I don't even exist. And I thought Stefan setting up for me finally meant something. Maybe I'll become part of the family, but no, everything is back to usual now. Gloria tries her best to hold back the tears. You do your best to comfort her. Father just needs to keep the family out of trouble. If Sir Robert believes that I only bring trouble, why did he take me into the house at all? Gloria runs away. You return to your books, but you can't help but get lost in thoughts. What if the court you weren't? What if you told the court? What if you told the court you weren't there either? How would you feel then? There's a knock at the door. It's Father. He closes the door behind him and sits next to you. There's an exhausted look about him. Son, you'll be testifying before the court tomorrow. Please remember what I'm about to tell you. Gloria wasn't at the ruins at all. You weren't there with your brother went there with your brother to inspect this historic site. Damn. Gloria wasn't at the ruins at all. You went there with your brother to inspect this historic site. The low-born men insulted Stefan first and then attacked him. Stefan had managed to deal with the assailants on his own by the time the guards intervened. Gloria will cast suspicion on the case. If you mention her very existence to the court, the reputation of the family will suffer. Your grandfather will never forgive me if that happens. Don't let me down. We're all counting on you. You recall the night of the fight like it was a moment ago. Gloria sprawled on the ground under the feet of those crackling thugs. Her poetry, her greatest treasure, scattered on the ground. She thinks she's all noble. Those are the words spat down at her. But doesn't grandfather mean the same thing when he denies that she is even part of the family? But if you do what father tells you, the trial will end quickly. Those commoners will face true death for assaulting a noble. If you mention Gloria, things will get complicated and you cannot predict how the trial will end. Which is more important to you? What is right? What is just? What is just? I don't have enough relations with father. Yeah, I'm gonna mention it. Sorry, Papa. You nod in agreement. You will follow the family's plan for the trial to the letter. A faint smile appears on Father's fatigued face. Thank you, son. It's an important case for our family. And for me as well. I appreciate your support. I'm gonna bring us down, man. Sorry. You watch Father leave your room and consider your options. When should you mention Gloria during your testimony? There's no way you'll pretend she was not there. That would not be fair in the slightest. The day comes, the trial takes place in the lesser hall of the city prefecture. Sir Elborn himself presides as the judge. You're standing next to Father and Stefan. You are to testify to the court one after another. Your brother's testimony follows Father's plan to the letter. The young commoners insulted you as you were both walking by the ruins. Then they assaulted you. Stefan defended you. You're to speak next. You tell the court the truth about the night. How the thugs humiliated Gloria, how Stefan and you came to help her, and how Stefan defended his half-sister. There are confused whispers in the hall. The commoners on trial cry out, "It's the truth." Gloria was reciting poetry, and they simply told her she was defying her lot. The situation has changed by this account. Stefan is not acting in defense of himself or another. He merely assaulted them first in order to retaliate against those who had insulted his half-sister. Grandfather's face turns red, yet he remains silent. All emotion disappears from Father's face. Your brother turns to look at you, disappointed. Sir Elborn raises to deliver the sentence. There is bitter regret in his voice as he speaks. With this new evidence in mind, the court of Answit finds you not guilty of assaulting Stefan Elbrant, a nobleman. However, you are found guilty of disgraceful conduct and injury to a noble. All 4 defendants are sentenced to 20 lashes each. The carriage is silent as your family drives home. Father asks you to go to the sitting room. You need to talk alone. The tone of his voice does not bode well for you. The sitting room door slams shut behind him. You have absolutely no idea what you've done. Why did you have to be so foolish and stubborn? Why? Explain to me. Father is furious. You try to explain yourself. You only wanted them to treat your sister fairly. Your father's face turns red, just like grandfather's did. Treated fairly, he says. His sister, he says. Get out of my sight this instant, both of you. You're in for a world of punishment, young man, you and your sister. You are nothing but a disappointment to me. Be gone. Damn. Next. Father gives his orders. You and Gloria are flogged together, brutally enough to ensure you learn your lesson. Once this ordeal ends, your sister thanks you through tears. At least you tried to stand up for her. Your back will not hurt less for that, but at least you feel better now. When Gloria comes back home the day after, there's a fresh bruise on her cheek. Her dress is covered in dust and her hair is disheveled. You ask her about it, but she does her best to pretend nothing is wrong. When you ask about the bruise, she says she just fell. You meet those 4 commoners on the street a few days later. They think you mockingly and tease you mercilessly. Sir Horsten and Brante, they call you cynically. You walk away as fast as you can. They laugh behind your back. Whatever happens now, Stefan will not protect you or Gloria anymore. Yeah, fuck you, Grandpa. Our 14th year. Agony. Stefan leaves soon after the trial, alone. Grandfather does not go with him. For the first time in a while, he lingers in the house for more than a fortnight. Father says Sir Gregor is ill and needs rest. Several months go by and it becomes clear that grandfather will not recover. The eldest Brante is mostly bedridden now. On some days he has trouble recognizing people. When he means to address you or Nathan, he calls you Robert, your father's name. But when he does get out of bed, the house grows empty. The servants hide, mother locks herself in her chamber, you and Nathan run outside or hide quietly in your rooms. If grandfather sees anyone in the hallway, he begins lamenting. Oh, nobody heeds the lots any longer. Any harlot with a child can marry a nobleman these days. Children have no respect. His son betrayed him and let him down. And oh, how the Brante family has lost its honor. Again and again you hear grandfather knocking at mother's door, screaming that this is all her fault. He blames her for ruining his chance at finding bliss in the hereafter. He blames her for dooming him to suffer at the foot of the pillar. You overhear your parents talking one night. Mother begs father to move Sir Gregor to his old home and spare the children his decline. Father refuses her outright. It's late at night. The hot, dry winds are coming. The house is empty save for you, Nathan, Gloria, mother, and grandfather in his bed. Father has left the capital on business. You are engrossed in the history of the Empire, snapping out of your reverie only when the clock strikes midnight. You blow out the candle and get ready for bed. You hear shuffling of heavy footsteps outside your door. You see light in the hallway. Grandfather, what could he want in the middle of the night? You peek into the hallway once as you pass. Father's figure sways as he heads for the door to Mother's chamber. He opens the door and walks in. You hear him say something quietly. Your unease is stronger than your fear now. You sneak closer to hear his words. You foul commoner. I need to cleanse my sins. I have to save my soul. You are my greatest sin, you and what you have done to Robert and this family. I should have put a stop to this marriage. I should have stopped Robert from tainting this house by your presence. Oh, why didn't I do it? Please, Sir Brante, I beg of you, silence, you will do my bidding. Fire will cleanse all lower-born filth from this place. Fire and flame will free Robert from this disgrace. This is for my son's sake, for my sake. I need to eradicate this low-born filth. The twins, they are calling for me now. I can feel it. Look, man, he's gone mad. I beg you, please have mercy. Mother begins to cry. You run into the room, unable to stay out of this any longer. Grandfather's gaunt figure looms over Mother's bed, a lit oil lamp in his hand. Mother is sprawled out on the bed, crying. Please, just let me warn the children, I beg you. Your steps are loud enough to be heard. Grandfather turns to look at you. Stay out of this, Horsten. Be useful for once. Worldly matters concern me no more. I see only my sins now. And a sinner I am, a sinner, the twins. They forgive no one. They will judge me by the pillar. I must do something. I don't want to suffer for all eternity. Go away. Mother is crying. Grandfather is still looming over the bed. Driven to madness, his hand shakes as it clenches the oil lamp. His eyes shine in the dark. He truly believes that this has to be done. You're suddenly torn. What if he's right? What if it's the only way for his soul to find salvation? There's no going back now. You have but a moment to act. Well, I'm not going to let it happen. Run away and rescue Nathan and Gloria. Let's see if we can kill Grandpa. You look at Grandfather defiantly and step towards him. He stares you down with rage and throws the oil lamp at the floor. You manage to catch it, but just barely. Several drops of hot oil hit the rug, not nearly enough to start a fire. The lamp's glass is blistering hot. It burns your hand, but you still hold on to it safely. You low-born scum, you ruined everything. You're every bit like your mother, you. Enraged, he takes a swing, and you squeeze your eyes shut. It doesn't hit you. Instead, there's a deep exhalation. You peek at him with one eye. Just as time to see him collapse, all strength fading away. His chest is heaving, his face a grimace of contempt. Another heavy exhalation. The contempt is gone. There's only fear now. Grandfather's eyes open wide, almost in surprise. He exhales. His eyes grow dim. Mother is there, whispering a prayer. She shakes violently. You put the oil lamp gently on the bedside table and call for the servants to carry the body away. It does not disappear, and true death has found him. He will never return. You spend the rest of the night with your mother in the sitting room. She will not let go of your hand. For many, many nights afterwards, she keeps seeing grandfather's shadow out of the corner of her eyes. Caused the old man to have a heart attack, eh? Good riddance to that prick. Father returns from eternity the morning after. He is unusually composed as he arranges for the funeral. The house becomes quiet. Not the looming heavy sword of quiet for the past few months, but a calm relief. You all feel now that the crazed old man is no more. At last, Gregor Brante, the family's patriarch, has departed for the hereafter. Okay, so we got some nobility for that. A little more ingenuity. We still have some willpower to save. Or to spare. Grandfather's demise. Your grandfather, Sir Gregor Brante, left this world forever to meet the twin gods. Last respects. The night of your grandfather's death shook your family to the core. Yet, no matter how it happened, your grandfather, Sir Gregor Brante, is dead and will never return. He was a fearful shadow looming over the rest of the family, the Brante patriarch, exerting his influence on all lives below him. And all of you will remember him forever. Father is the new patriarch of the family now, yet he still cannot bring himself to sit at the head of the table where Sir Gregor used to preside. Stefan locks himself away in grandfather's bedroom every day. He will not talk to anyone. Gloria and Nathan still jump at every sound that so much as resembles the knocking of his walking stick. Mother spends all day in prayer at the temple, and yet the house has become calm and quiet with his passing. But there is one more thing that must be done. The final farewell that weighs heavily upon your soul. The day comes to pray for your final respects. Father goes to the tomb alone, save for Stefan, Nathan, and you. Mother and Gloria stay at home. Only nobles or those who may become nobles may join this ritual. There is a solemn silence as you walk to the crypt. Father is the one who breaks this silence when he finally reaches the door of the family crypt. Your grandfather built this crypt, and now he will be the first Brante to remain here in body forever, the first ever noble in our family. It is our duty now hold to the sacrament of flowing blood for Sir Gregor. We will honor his legacy and join him in the founder of the noble Brante dynasty. Stefan perks up at Father's words. His hand still clutches grandfather's sword. Tradition decrees that it must remain in the niche above the owner's sarcophagus. Nathan, on the other hand, looks even more frightened now. Stairs carved of white stone lead you down, deep in the gloom of the crypt. Atop a pedestal you see the sarcophagus that holds grandfather's body. Father takes a moment to compose himself before paying his final respects. Gregor Brante, my father, brought our family into nobility through his unshakable will. He was a judge and a loyal servant to the empire. He lived his life as if he had been born a noble. He had never strayed from the path he had chosen. He sought to make the Brante family ennobled by the sword so that our children's children might be of noble birth. The twins know I abide my father's words all my life, even if I cannot obey him every time. Father lets a bitter chuckle as Father's lets of a bitter chuckle as he says this. Stefan glares at Father, then turns to glare at Nathan, at you. After all, the two of you were born of Father's shameful decision to marry a commoner. All of you remember his disastrous passing. He did not die the true death he deserved. Yet we all must know that he fought for the future he believed in, to the very end. And he would be proud to see his family bid him farewell with the sacrament of nobility. Stefan still glares at Father sullenly. His fingers remain clutched around Grandfather's sword. Nathan barely pays attention to the words. He looks around with unease, his arms folded across his chest. Father reaches into his jacket and pulls out a slender dagger, thin and sharp. He takes off his gloves. Watch me carefully, my sons. Make a small cut on the palm of your hands and let your blood flow into the duct on the wall of the crypt. It will join your grandfather's blood here and flow forever. Then ancestor and progeny will become as one. We shall enter our family's blood tide and receive grandfather's final blessing. For his blood flows first in our blood tide, he will respond to you. You are part of him, and he is part of you. With a quick motion, Father slices his hand and holds the bleeding cut above a small opening in the wall. Then he hands the dagger to Stefan. Stefan cuts his hand without hesitation and does as Father did. You receive the dagger next. The dagger's handle feels warm. You hesitate for a moment as you look at the palm of your hand. If you participate in this ritual, you will enter the Brante blood tide. You, a low-born child, a child who is still a commoner. Are you ready to claim your legacy as a descendant of the nobleman Gregor Brante? The eyes of your father and brother are upon you. Nathan, the youngest brother, will follow your example. Well, I guess I've only got one choice. You refuse to participate in the ritual. After all, you do not bear the nobleman's lot. You return the dagger to Father and say you cannot participate in the ritual. You are a commoner, and your back bears the mark of the lash. Grandfather would never have let you honor his name as a nobleman. Nathan nods in agreement. You do not deserve this honor. Father furrows his brow and shakes his head. Stefan, help me close the lid of the sarcophagus. And remember to ask Grandfather for his blessing. And as for you two, it seems you weren't ready to walk the nobleman's path after all. You're right, son. Your grandfather never would have allowed it. The lid of the sarcophagus falls into place with a heavy, resonant thud. Then suddenly, you all freeze as each of you hears your late grandfather speak to you. His voice is loud as it rings in the depths of the crypt, yet he speaks to each of you separately. Foul blood weakling. I knew you never had it in you to raise above your meager birth. You have not a drop of nobility in you, and your pathetic little brother is the same. You are a taint upon my flesh and blood. Be gone from my crypt. Your legs carry you out of the crypt of their own accord. Out, out, out to that stuffy crypt. You can finally breathe again. You hear slow footsteps behind you. You turn around and meet Nathan's gaze. You did the right thing. If it weren't for you, I'd have done what Father told us. Grandfather said I should stay away from his legacy. Said it'd do me no good if I try to follow in his footsteps. How's that words for guidance, eh? Nathan sighs as he embraces you. Father and Stefan leave the crypt much later and walk to the carriage without a word. You and Nathan humbly follow behind him. Alright, what's gonna happen? Forbidden Love. Another day of school is behind you. You're now wandering your district, taking your time before going home. It's getting dark. Soon you're walking past the splendid mansion of Count Elvesco, one of Magra's richest landlords. You hear a familiar voice from the other side of the iron fence. It's Stefan's voice. It's followed by the sound of a young lady laughing. You peek through the fence and into the mansion's garden, and indeed, there you see your elder brother, dressed like he is going to meet the Emperor himself. He's currently busy helping a pretty young lady out of the window. She locks him in an emotional embrace. You recognize her, Maria El Velasco, Count El Vasco's daughter. And as the whole city knows, she is already betrothed to another young nobleman from a far more illustrious family. Oh, Maria, I thought I'd help you come down to earth from your heavenly abode, but your very touch brings me to the heavens. Ah, what a poet. He picks the Count's daughter up and holds her in the air. She laughs almost imperceptibly, and kisses him on the cheek. Then Stefan takes her by the chin and turns her to face him. Their lips join in a kiss. A fury of emotions wash over you as I watch it happen. Stefan is putting the reputation of his entire family at risk. Acting so frivolously with the Count's daughter may turn the Count's influence against all the Brants. Yet Stefan always speaks so highly and composure and family honor. Stefan's face is glowing with joy. Your older brother, he's happy, truly happy. You've never seen Stefan like this. His arms hold the Count's daughter in a tender embrace, so gently, as though he fears to hurt her. And Maria reciprocates his feelings. Must you really rob them of their secret joy? If you ever speak to him about this, no one else must hear. Wait by the gate patiently until Stefan decides to return from his escapades. He is startled when he finally notices you standing by the gate. I ain't gonna get between him. What are you doing here at this late hour? Is there something you wish to tell me? You confess to Stefan that you saw him today in El Vasico's garden with the Count's daughter. This affair puts both families' honor at risk, yet you say you're happy for him. You can see how much he cares for her. No matter what, it's worth the risk. Stefan can trust you with this secret, you assure him. The two of you will keep it together. Stefan reacts to you with anger at first, but your supportive words calm him down. You've got all the makings of a professional spy, but you're right. The risk is too great. Your aid will not go amiss. You are no noblewoman yet, but I hope your word is worth my trust. From that day on, you help Stefan and Maria avoid attention on many occasions. You even have to distract El Vasico's manservants and lead them away on a wild goose chase through the district. In the end, you're never caught, and you earn your brother yet another night with his beloved. They are both aware that the days of their hidden love are numbered. Yeah, it can't really last. But how will your escapades affect the family's reputation? You and your brother agree. Whatever happens, happens. Young love is worth the risk. Oh, another consequence. What happened? Today, you and Thomas are about to explore the streets of the castle district. You delve deep into the district, right to the old siege walls of Anzoit. The city needs these walls no longer. There are no more enemies left for the Empire to fight. Since the twins descended and chose the Tempest dynasty to rule the Empire, it has spread one sea to sea, bringing its rule to peace for many generations. The two of you gaze in awe at the old charcoal black marks of the former fortress walls. They say magic wielders during the Charm Melandia's rebellion could conjure gusts of fire with their own hands. The rebellious duke fought against the Empire and the Church of the Twin Gods in the days of yore, but nothing remains of his rebellion now save for scorched ruins and parched land throughout Magra. You and your friends study the old walls and daydream about the battles that took place here during the rebellion. But then you hear a muffled voice coming from somewhere below the ground. You look around and find a hole in brickwork where the sounds are coming from. Naturally, you take a peek. You see a half-ruined hall built below the ground, and a handful of young men and women standing there in the dark. They look a little bit more older than you and are wearing plain shirts and dresses. The young man is standing on a piece of crumbled wall reciting some of his poetry. It tells the story of a nobleman who fell into a puddle thanks to his gaudy cloak, and none of his noble bearing was of any help. He ends it with a farcical bow. You hear applause and laughter. He gets down from the crumbling wall and you see a young girl take his place. You cannot see her face in the darkness, but it's hers. But hers is a voice you recognize anywhere. That's Gloria. Your sister begins to recite a poem. Nay, Gloria, yours is no proper life. You are to be a mother and wife. Accept the kitchen apron for a gag. And lo, another voice takes a crack. You're staying from your lot. You've got some nerves. Eyes down and obedient and serve. Your husband, children, and house, they are your absolute. Nay, Gloria, you are but rotten fruit. You lean down to hear better, but sand and stone fall from under your feet into the underground hall. Gloria looks up to meet your gaze. Thomas pulls you away from the hole. So they're reading poems, imagine that. They sure hate nobles, even Gloria. I never thought your sister could do that, but they're sure gonna get in trouble if they get spotted by an adult. Bad-mouthing a noble will get you flogged for a week. Not to mention all the trouble you can get into for writing poem if you're a commoner. You better tell your sister to lay off. You better stay away from them too. You nod. Being around these people puts Gloria in great danger. But you know your sister. She will not be easy to tell her this. Your adventure in the castle district is done for tonight. You and your friend return home. During dinner, Gloria will not look at you. Her hair is all disheveled. Is she afraid or is she ashamed? You are also worried sick. These literary gatherings spell danger for your sister. But for an illegitimate child like her, there are so few ways for her to forge her own path. Dinner is over. Soon you and Gloria are alone at the table. What are you going to tell her? Secret Poetry Society? Let's keep the secrets rolling. Anyone should be able to write poetry. Finally, Gloria looks at you. You wink at your sister and promise to keep your secret. You praise the poetry you are able to overhear and confess that you are impressed. A big joyous smile appears on her face. I'm so happy, brother. I thought you were about to tell me to stop going there and say what mother says about my lot, but I'm glad you're not like that. Me and my friends, without our poetry, we don't have anything else left. Nothing but our abysmal daily lives. We can at least laugh about it this way. You get serious and tell her that her friends need to work much harder to hide their meetings. After all, the secret passion could end badly for them if they get caught. The best way out of this is to meet in a new place every time. You list several abandoned places nearby where nobody will look for them. You promise her that if she ever comes close to danger, you'll be there to protect her. Gloria nods and plants a kiss of sisterly joy on your cheek. Damn, a lot's happening now. Grandfather's passing and last respects have left a mark on the entire family. His words, relayed from the hereafter, kept echoing in your mind. You still do your best to avoid the memory of Grandfather's last night and spend more time on the city streets with Thomas and your other classmates. The road by the house reminds you of another clash with death. Sometimes as you walk along that road, you recall Sophia, the beautiful girl with the wonderful eyes and the terrifying thundering hoos. You have not seen Sophia since that fateful day. The children who live nearby say her parents sent her to a rich Arcanian family, the Ottens, as a servant. The sun has set, the pillar shines palely in the dark sky. Thomas is ill, so you decide to visit him and tell him the latest news. The streets seem oddly agitated tonight, full of horses, cloaked men, strange faces, and hushed voices. A young nobleman in a heavy embroidered cloak is walking back and forth, clutching at his sword nervously. There is a grimace of rage on his delicate blue face. He is an Arcanan. You hear voices. Sir Otten, the girl is not at home. We searched the house. Her parents swear she ran away from home too. They claim they wanted to bring her back. Just do whatever it takes. Turn this loathsome district upside down if you must, but bring my servant back to me. She is here. Sophia ran away from Arcanan? How can this be? There is only one place on the entire street where a person could hide. The abandoned Morel house, 4 houses away from yours. You head there, doing your best not to attract attention. The lopsided house is built of yellow brick. Has been abandoned for 20 years or so. You remember playing there as a boy. You glimpse a figure inside even before you enter. A pair of eyes glimmer in the dark. You would recognize them even after another 4 years. Sophia has grown up. She is almost an adult now. Her face is full of fear. She is not the easygoing girl next door you remember. She finally recognizes you. No, it's you. Be quiet. They're looking all over for me. I ran away from the youngest Otten. I might be in for a lesser death here, but I'd rather die than spend another day in their slavery. I'm just a thing to him, just a toy to play with. Sophia winces and closes her mouth as she says this. There's a glint of bright yellow deep in her eyes. I ran to my parents. I told them about the men I have to serve. They went and alerted the Ottens. They didn't want to be a target of their ire. But you aren't going to tip them off, are you? The barking and shouting are getting closer. Sophia's voice grows quiet. She runs off to the darkest corner of the house before you can answer. One of the Otten servants is close and you can hear his cloak swishing against the ground. He notices something and calls for the others. There's more voices around you. They approach the house from the yard and are surrounded. One of them seems particularly snappy, annoyed, and impatient. You've already heard his voice today. Darius. If you're in there, girl, you'd be wise to come out and quit wasting my time. All will be forgiven. And you'll go back to where you were, you know it. And if you don't, I'll drag you out by the hair. The hilt of the young Arcanan sword bashes at the door. He's about to lose his patience for good. Sophia hugs the wall in the dark, trying to stay still. She glances at you. What will you do? Bracing. Can you act against the Arcanan's order? Do you have the gall to defy the mighty nobleman? You will protect your friend, even if you have to defy the young Arcanan. You lead the fugitive girl through the old cellar away from the house. Oh, I thought I had that off, so I couldn't see. There we go. She'll die, though. Let's help her run away. You grab Sophia's hand as you run down the stairs to the old cellar. She resists you at first until she reads your lips. There's a secret way out. You sneak into the cellar, leading the way. The floorboards groan above your head as the Arcanine and his men search the house. But the only children who grew up in this district know that this cellar leads to the neighboring district. You lead Sophia to the hole in the cellar floor and help her squeeze in. There it is, the old tunnel that leads to the well 2 streets away. None of the children know who dug it, yet you played here and chased each other through it many times as a lad. And now this secret passage will rescue Sophia from genuine pursuit. Soon you're in the well. There's nothing above you save the sky full of clouds. You wait until you hear no more steps around you, then climb up out of the well and help Sophia up. You lead the way to the slums around the Temple District, the easiest place to disappear. A dog in a nearby house starts barking. One of Aton's men appears in front of you. You take a step back as your fingers search for a brick, ready to defend Sophia no matter the cost. She squeezes your hand, and you hear a high-pitched scream of rage. A flash of yellow light stuns you. In the blink of an eye, Aton's man freezes and collapses, unable to get up. Sophia's eyes are no longer sky blue, they're yellow now. She lets go of your hand, you recoil in fear. You weren't supposed to see that. It hurt you. But I won't let them take me. I won't go back to Aton after this. I need to run as far as my legs can take me. Thank you for helping me, and farewell. Sophia gives you a gentle kiss on the cheek and disappears down the dark alleyway. You stand there stunned. Sophia's a witch? Her magic bound Aton's man by the arms and legs. It made him unable to move. You hear Aton's scream of rage and the thumping of his men's feet, but Sophia is long gone. It's a shame that that's all you could do for her. The runaway girl becomes the talk of your district for an entire week. You overhear that Sophia managed to flee the city, and the Atons are furious. After this sudden appearance, she disappeared from your life once more. You will not see her again till much, much later. I met a girl. "15 years old. The Bloodstained Sermon. You're about to turn 15, just one step away from adulthood. Mother is acting anxious at dinner today, barely touching her food. You exchange glances with Gloria. She carefully tells you that she wants to go to the tailor. Mother shudders, and her hands clench into fists. No, don't you dare leave home today. I forbid it. That dirty heretic Foetus is preaching his lies under the silver tree today. Twins willing, I don't want you to hear any of that. You and Gloria glance at each other again. Foetus. He is a patriarch, the head of the clergy throughout the entire province. That is the first time you've heard Mother speak like that about a priest, especially such a high-ranking one. Once you leave the dinner table, Gloria comes to your room with a cunning expression on her face, like she's about to play a trick on someone. She has a plan. The two of you should sneak out of the house and go to the silver tree. You simply must hear that sermon for yourself. What's so bad about Patriarch Foetus? Why does Mother hate him so much? You two are grown up now. Surely you have the right to know. You agree with your sister. Together you sneak out from under your mother's watchful eye and hurry to the silver tree. The temple block is full of people from all ranks in the state. There is barely enough room for you to squeeze through the crowd. The crowd gathered around the very roots of the tree. Gloria suggests that you climb up onto the roof of a nearby building so you can hear and see everything better. And not a moment too soon. From the roof you see a tall, silver-haired priest stepped onto the platform by the tree. dressed in the common black robe that looks far beneath his rank, yet stands like a noble before the crowd. Behind his back is a banner flapping in the wind. The open book. This is the symbol of the new faith, the crowd whispers. The patriarch holds his hand up to the sky, and the entire temple block grows quiet. He begins his sermon, his vibrant voice rolling across the square. Photis speaks of a great mistake. We entrusted ourselves to the lots as the only way to fulfill divine providence in this world. But for all these years, the will of the twins has been interpreted for us by a single man, Prophet Isitis. The twins were never watching from atop the shining pillar. Of this we have no doubt. The twins are ever watching from atop the shining pillar. Of this we have no doubt. But how can we so blindly believe that we truly follow their will by following lots? Have we not seen the 3 lots of Isitis fail again and again to answer the questions of how we ought to live our lives? Have we not seen people change their lot in life again and again without being smitten by divine wrath? Every person born, whether human or arcanine, low-born or noble, must find their lot and their way to the gods on their own. From now on, we will seek the gods in the accounts of their own lives, in their own acts in this world, and their own words as they echo within us. And as we heed the voice of the twins within, we will each find their path for us on our own. The crowd at the silver tree listened to the patriarch's speech in stunned silence. You glance at your sister, her eyes glistening with tears as she hears Photis' words. Then suddenly, a hoarse cry arises from the crowd. If there are no lots, does it mean the nobles are going to till the fields and the commoners are going to bear arms? The crowd begins to murmur. The patriarch raises his hand and inhales, ready to answer. An odd figure leaps from the crowd onto the platform, a dirty beggar dressed in rags, a knife flashed in his hand. The blade slices. Blood starts spurting from Photis' throat. He slumps over and collapses. A dark brown puddle spreads across the platform where he stood. Gloria clutches her mouth to suppress a thick screech. A few moments of stunned silence, and the screams begin. The people are frantic. Temple guards try to restore order in the crowd, but to no avail. An old woman dressed in an inquisitor's cassock tries in vain to apply pressure to the patriarch's wound. The noble draws their swords, and dogs are barking. The crowd is pushing and shoving. Children are crying. The entire square by the tree is in chaos. From the roof, you see the moment when people start trampling each other, howling and praying and shouting. Gloria tugs on your sleeve. Time to go. You climb down from the roof and run. You return home without exchanging a word. Mother's been in a room all the while, so no one notices your absence. Gloria locks herself in a room. You do not discuss the things you have seen. They are too frightening. But your parents discuss every little detail of the blood-stained sermon over dinner. This is unbelievable. The patriarch murdered in plain sight. The gendarmes and the Archduke's guards have searched every corner of the slums, and the murderous beggar has disappeared without a trace. I can't even imagine a more gruesome crime. Photis has died a true death, never to return from the hereafter. But how? Why can't the patriarch be reborn? He's so close to the twins. Such is the way of the world, my children. Once you're granted great power by the twins, there's no hope for you to come back, not even after the first of your deaths. Emperors, their powerful vassals, heads of the great Arcanine dynasties, patriarchs of the church, none of them are destined to be reborn. Photis is gone forever. I fear for his soul. It was lost in doubt. Will the twins accept him upon the peak of the pillar? We must pray for the patriarch, children. Let us hope he managed to return to the true old faith before the moment of his passing. But there is little hope for that. The last turn 16. According to imperial law, you will be a full adult. Your time at Sir Tiber's school has ended. You have studied enough to apply for the Imperial College and learn the judge's trade there. You are to travel to Eternia tomorrow. Your friend Thomas will go there with you to try his luck at the Imperial capital. Your mother and father prepare you to go for the long journey. Remember, son, there is only one goal for you. You must try to become a student at the Imperial College. Your teachers dragged you through all those books for a reason. You have the knowledge and the fervor to be ennobled by the mantle as I was, and as my late father was before me. And who knows? Maybe one day you will and who knows? Maybe one day you will be the one to write the name Brante in the blue book and ensure that your children's children will be noble by birth. Then mother speaks to you carefully. There is worry in her eyes. But Robert, there may be another path for our son. Stefan, your firstborn, was born a noble. He will surely earn the title for the entire Brante family. Your second son bears favor of the twins. For him, the path of a priest is a worthy calling, no less than a nobleman's sword. They have been arguing about your future for a while now. Still, she would never defy the will of a nobleman and her husband. You smile at both of them, trying to placate them. Gloria laughs quietly behind their backs. Just don't become a snoot like Stefan, and you'll do just fine. Mother chides Gloria for that. You wink at your sister. Nathan has been downcast all evening. He barely touched his dinner. When everyone gets up from the table, he suddenly rushes over to embrace you. Please don't go. Can't you stay? I don't know what I'm going to do without you. You tussle his hair in response. There's no way you can stay now, you say. But when you come home, and you will come home, you'll tell him all your stories and bring him a special present from Eternia. This is it. All your lessons have been learned. All your things have been packed for the road. You will leave the family home. You will leave the family home tomorrow. Tonight is your last night at home before your departure. You walk through the rooms one last time. The sitting room where Mother used to read you fairy tales in the library. The library where Gloria used to spend all her time. Father's study, which you entered only on special occasions. The backyard where you taught Nathan to build towers one summer. The whole place feels so familiar, so dear to you. It feels like home. You lived here for 16 years. Will you ever return? It is getting late. Everybody is already in the rooms, but you hesitate. Mother, Father, Gloria, Nathan. It will be a long time before you see them again. Who you spend your last few hours with at home. Let's spend her time with her sister. Indeed, your sister is still awake. She jumps out of her armchair happily the moment she sees you. I'm so happy you're actually here. You know, before you leave, I actually have something to tell you. Gloria takes your hand and leads you to the library. You light a lamp, and Gloria pulls a hefty volume from one of the shelves. Look, this is the history of the noble houses. It's got the story of how humans were first ennobled. I read all of it, and guess what? It didn't happen until after the expansion of the Empire. Apparently there wasn't enough Arcananes for all the land. They just couldn't rule it all by themselves. Arcananes have always treated humans like cattle, but human nobles are even worse. They're like their paltry copies now, bearing noble titles, wearing gem-studded jackets, bossing others around and poisoning their lives. They make me sick. Everybody says nobles were born to rule, but if you ask me, I say they're nobodies. There's nothing noble about demeaning others and living off their hard work. Gloria is growing unusually agitated. You know she was not exactly fond of nobles, but this is the first time you've heard such burning scorn in her voice. But then Gloria stops herself suddenly and calms down. I just wanted to tell you, brother, you don't actually have to become a noble. If you're a noble, you'll have to follow their rules like Stefan does. You're not like him, I know it. Don't listen to Mother, and definitely don't listen to your father. They just want you to blindly follow them. It's true, Sir Brante spent plenty of money and effort on your education, but a noble title and a judge's rank were his dream for you, not yours. It's time to think for yourself. Her words sparkle a dispute. You kept debating into the small hours. Soon, you both start reaching into history and politics and morals for material, pulling out library books one by one to prove your points. It turns out, Gloria is an expert debater. All the days and nights she spent in the library have honed her mind and rhetorical skills. The sun about to rise, you should rest before the long trip, but you're not tired at all. But before you return to your room, Gloria locks you in a heartfelt hug. Please, promise me you'll find your own way out there. You nod to her and hug her back. Then she's off. You go to bed, but you cannot sleep. Gloria's words keep you up all night. Yeah, man, be yourself. Find your own lot. Departure from home. You leave the Hamley home for a long time. Your future awaits you in Eternia, the capital of the Empire. The end of adolescence. Last night was your final night at home. The carriage is now waiting at the gate, ready to take you to the capital. The clip-clopping of the idle hooves against the cobblestone count the seconds before your departure. You take one more look at your parents' house and recall your childhood spent there, in the nearby yards, at your school, and on the winding streets of Anzoit. You clashed with the greater world around you and survived. You felt the tingle of emotions for the first time. You were taught by the school and the streets. You explored the city of your birth and learned something of its past. You witnessed first-hand events that will be remembered in history for all time. All of this is yours, now, forever. You saw death, lesser death followed by rebirth, and true death that takes and never gives back. You saw death lying in wait to strike the unaware, like a beast stalking its prey. You saw grandfather's angry grimace lit by a flickering fire of a lamp, the Archduke's cavalry trampling those who stood in their way, and your older brother's bloodied sword slicing through the air. Death has followed you from a very young age. And yet, you live on. You have a friend who has been by your side all these years. Thomas taught you many things. How to take a hit, how to keep your word, and how to remain true to your own self. And now Thomas is walking to the same carriage as you with a heavy bag slung over his shoulder. Your friend will remain your friend will remain your companion for the time being. Ahead of you is a long trip towards the capital and adulthood. For the first time, you'll be away from your family and home. What awaits you in the future? Alright, so these are the sum of your personal qualities in adulthood, which you will choose for the rest of your life. They are the sum of qualities you have gained in childhood and adolescence. So I got some diplomacy. Perception and ingenuity, manipulation. Theology. Valor. Scheming. Eloquence. Not bad. So our adolescence, we met Thomas, our new best friend. We saved Sophia, died in the process. Started our education. Then we pestered grandfather so much he had a heart attack in the middle of the night after he tried to kill our mother. So, fuck him. Stefan's disgrace. Well, it's more just like forbidden love, but, you know, good for him. Do what's good. Gloria's secret poetry meetings. And we saved a witch. Finally departing from home. Or at least noble. We have quite a bit of willpower. Only died twice. And that's it for our adolescence and the first 2 chapters of Sir Brante. I think I might have to continue on with the full game. Because this, I really like the story playing out now. But until then, we'll see you guys next time.